Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the April 18th, 2018 YourLIVINGBrand.live show. It is a wonderful day, and thank you very much for joining me. It's, for those of people who don't know about this show, and you know what, there's a lot of newcomers, and I love that there's always newcomers to this show. This show is all about adding value. It's all about what makes you unique, what makes you different, what makes you not a commodity. You know what? There's every single company out there has something out there that makes them different, that makes them special, that makes them different. And it's about understanding that and communicating it to your audience in a way that makes sense to them. They understand your value and they want to work with you. That's going to keep you from being in the rat race of always being cheaper, that always being that other vendor, the one that has to go out for the third quote. If you can differentiate yourself, and I don't care if you sell hammers, lingerie, or biomedical equipment, every company does something that's a little different. And it's the way you do it and how you communicate it to your audience that makes you special. And if those people understand it, then that's where the magic begins. My name's Ben Baker, and 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, my company is Your Brand Marketing. What do? We brand people, we consult, we do workshops, and we do keynote addresses on brand, message, market, vision, and value. We want to be the storytellers of your brand. We want to help you engage your audience in a meaningful way so that they understand your value and they tell your story to others. Because when your customers tell your story for you, that's when the real marketing begins. So today, I want to introduce you to a guest. Every week we have a different guest, and this week it's Tara Milburn. She has a company out on the East Coast called Ethical Swag. And what does she do? She does promotional marketing in a very different way. She approaches the industry differently from most of her competition, and she differentiates herself because what she does is she's looking for promotional products that are sustainable, that are environmental, and are going to be the right product for the right person to tell the right story. So I'm going to bring Tara on board. I'm going to let her tell her story, and I'll be back afterwards. Talk to you soon. Tara, thank you very much for coming on the show today. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Ben, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I love these cross-country communications. It's great. I mean, I'm on the West Coast. You're out on the East Coast, but you know what? It's almost like we're being in the same living room. I haven't seen you since January, but it's almost like being in the same living room having a conversation. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's the magic of technology, and it's why we're able to do what we do today.
Exactly. And, I just wrote an article this morning about the whole new 5G stuff coming up, the next level of generation of video. And it's going to be incredible, how we can communicate with people that are all over the world, so our world is no longer, in our own backyard. It's wherever our customers are. It's an incredible thing.
Yeah, no, it's opened up all kinds of opportunities, and it makes it so that I can live in an absolutely beautiful place and have customers all over North America. So I love it.
I love it. All right, so let's get into this. What this show is all about. It's about value. It's about communicating value. It's about what makes companies different. What makes you special? Why do your customers love you? Why do they tell your story? So tell me your story, Tara. Tell me about tell me about Ethical Swag. Tell me about what the company is all about, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for, and why are people passionate about it?
Sure, yeah. Ethical Swag was founded in 2010. Mm-hmm. I was actually working with Nova Scotia Business Inc., which is the business development agency for the province of Nova Scotia, and our business was attracting investment and growing the economy of Nova Scotia. And we had a guest speaker in who was the head of the community college system, and we were talking about ways that we could work together and that sort of thing. And they were talking about the tens of millions of dollars that they were spending on sustainability on their campus.
Right.
And their campuses across the province. Mm-hmm. And, geothermal offsets and LEED certification and, you name it. They were spending tens of millions of dollars. And then each year I would work with the local community college, and I would adjudicate their business panels and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I was given a gift. And knowing the focus of sustainability, I was really sort of thought to myself, wow, what a lost opportunity, because their gift, their branded merchandise did not communicate their value and their mission and their purpose.
Right.
And when I looked into it, I realized that there was, it was a tough thing to navigate, let's put it that way, in the world of promotional products. And that's where Ethical Swag was born. And it wasn't, I remember calling up the president of Nova Scotia Business Inc. and telling him I was doing this because I said, I don't want any conflicts of interest, or I don't want, anything like that. I'm not leaving my job. I just see that this is an opportunity to teach my kids. When you see that there's an opportunity in the market, it was something that I wanted to do. I've always been very entrepreneurial, but I just wasn't in a position to be able to leave my full-time employment. Ironically, I don't know if that's the right word, but I incorporated the business, and I got a phone call about 2 weeks later, and my elderly parents that were in their 80s, their house was burning down.
Oh my God.
And, they lived, many, many hours away from me. And I'm an only child. So, I had full-time work, 3 kids, elderly parents with no home. I just had an awful lot of
that whole sandwich going on at the same time. And trying to nibble on all sides. Yeah,
exactly. So, but it didn't stop me. But I didn't make it something that was my full-time commitment, simply because I couldn't. Sure. So in essence, what we did was we threw up an online brochure and didn't really do anything else. But we had customers.
Right.
And there was no search engine optimization, there was no marketing, there was nothing like that, but we had customers. And so over the years, I got to know my customers. We did the Governor General's Canadian Leadership Conference every time that they put the conference on. They really appreciated that we were sourcing Canadian-made and recycled content and that sort of thing. So I interviewed our customers ongoing. I researched supply chains. I, got a thorough understanding of the industry. And through that research and through that development, decided in order to have a big impact, I've got to make this my full-time work. Right. And so about a year ago, not quite, I decided that was what I was going to do. So Ethical Swag, I really looked at sort of who's the customer, what are they looking for, what are their expectations, what do they need? The office dog is barking.
That's good. The boss is letting us know that they're around. I get it. You know what? Whether it's the kids, whether it's the dogs, whatever. I've had more dogs on this show than I know what to do with, and they're great. I love having dogs. They let us know they're around. It's a good thing. Exactly. They want to be the center of attention. Absolutely.
So over the last 9 months or so, a lot of research, a lot of investigation has happened. Yeah. And we relaunched Ethical Swag. Actually, the official relaunch date was March 1st.
Oh, and congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. What we really heard from customers was, make it easier for us. We had to find you. We really appreciate the work that you're doing, but we had to find you. Right. So, and we want to make it easier to buy. We know what we want to buy. Right. So there's folks in this sector that are doing fabulous work around, servicing that customer niche as well.
Absolutely.
But it's more of an agency brand. And what I decided Ethical Swag was, it was all around process and technology to try and make it easier for those folks that say, we know we want a sustainable pen, we know we want a sustainable water bottle, we know we want, whatever it is. Sure. Make it easier for us to actually transact. And that's sort of where Ethical Swag is now.
Exactly. And for people who don't know, it is possible to have ethically sourced pieces. It is possible to have environmentally friendly pieces. You just need to work at it a little bit harder. All of this does exist in the promotional marketing industry. 100%. All of this is absolutely available. You just need to deal with somebody that's their specialty, that understands where these pieces are, who are the suppliers, why they're differentiating in their marketplace, and be able to marry that properly. And you know what? That's your value proposition. Your value proposition is that you're coming at this at a completely different angle from a lot of people in this industry. And that's what makes you unique. I mean, to me, that's what makes you unique, is that you found a customer base that is already looking to buy. They're already looking for this stuff. As you said, they're already there. They're already mentally there, that they want to be seen as sustainable. They want to be seen as environmental. They want to be seen as, being, stewards of the environment, etc. They just need somebody that can help them get there. Yeah. And, good for you for finding that niche and moving it forward. So how do you communicate it? How do people, because you said people needed to make it easier to find you. How have you made it easier for people to find you?
Well, we're just getting started on that journey.
Okay.
So it's early days right now. Word of mouth has been a significant opportunity for us because our customers are happy.
Sure.
And so when we do talk to our customers and say, how did you find us? There's a significant amount of them that are word of mouth.
Right.
So that helps. Brand recognition, ethical swag, the name ethical swag. If people don't immediately know what it means, it certainly makes them stop and go, pardon?
And then they go, oh, okay.
Yeah. Because, in essence, those two words really sum up what we're trying to do. And then
absolutely,
I had a lot of folks say, what's ethical?
Right.
What does that mean? Right? It means something to everybody. It means something different to everybody.
Exactly.
And that's some of the work that we've done as well, is really spent a lot of time on what is our purpose, what is our mission, what is our value. That's been a significant part of the last 9 months of really digging in and understanding who we are as a company so that it can be our beacon. It's the thing that helps us every day decide, do we make this decision or do we make that decision? Do we work with that customer? Do we work with that customer? Do we source that product? Do we not source that product? Because ethical means so many different things to so many different people. Yes, sustainability. What does sustainability mean, really? Is there?
You're right. It's completely different to to who the audience is. Are they looking to be green, or are they just looking to greenwash?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. I've literally had a supplier say, "Oh, ethical, yeah. Tell us what you want to put on the label, and we'll put it there." And I'm like, "No,
no. As ethical as you want to pay for,
So we did a lot of work around purpose.
Yeah.
And to sum it up, sort of the most succinctly possible, is really it's about equity. Okay, it's equity for the workers. It's equity for the planet.
Right.
It's a simplest. It's a way to sort of distill it down into something that's okay. I get it. Right. So we're not saying you can't buy something that's made in China. We're not saying it has to be union made. We're not saying it has to be recycled. We're not saying any of those things.
Right.
All we're doing is reflecting what our customers are looking for.
Exactly.
And we're working with them to find the products that make sense for them. Because we feel progress over perfection as well. If you can't have a union-made, locally made, recycled content, do you mean, is it okay to just say then, okay, no, it doesn't matter then?
Right.
No, it does matter, but it has to fit with your budget. It has to fit with your values as a customer. It has to actually, for us, something staying out of a landfill is also very valuable. So there's that sustainability piece in terms of it doesn't get thrown away quickly. Right. So you want something that's going to be worn over and over again, if it's apparel, or something that's going to be used over and over again, for a pen, for example. Right. You don't want something to run out quickly. Is it made in China? Probably. And we can tell you, we will tell you where it's made because we do that research on our suppliers. And that's not bad, provided There's social compliance, that they're paying fair wages, that they're thinking about the environment. When they say that there's recycled content, that the actual recycled content is documented and that it's been audited to say that it's true and it's not just greenwashing. We have suppliers that are doing work in Honduras, and they take it beyond just the factory walls, and they look to see how they can help sustain the communities and what work they can be doing in those communities for their workers. That's the sort of the next level, and the level below that, that we dig into who we're dealing with, so that we can give some comfort to our customers,
right,
on what are they buying from, where, from who, and are people and planet being treated fairly in that process.
Right. Now, you're like me. You're a small business.
Yep.
How do you go about verifying, what you are telling your customers is true? Because you're telling people, this company has social compliance, that company has social compliance. Is there a third party, watchdog out there that you can rely on to be able to sit there and say, okay, this company, this company, and this company are going through the paces, and yes, they are producing this ethically, and they are sourcing this ethically? Or are you reliant on the corporations themselves telling you what they're doing?
So it depends.
Yeah.
Certainly the promotional products industry have third-party sort of auditors and vetters. There's the QCA.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're very familiar with the QCA.
Yeah, Tim was actually on our show last year sometime.
Perfect. Yeah, and so
on our show last year.
I'm in touch with Tim, and I work also to encourage suppliers to become QCA certified.
Yeah.
So, so we, as an entrance point, QCA is sort of a baseline. So QCA looks at social compliance, environmental impact, product safety, supply chain security, and product quality as key pillars of their audit process.
Right.
It's not an easy thing for suppliers to go through. And there's only, I think, 1% of suppliers in the promotional products industry that are QCA certified currently.
Right. It's not quite an ISO. It's not quite an ISO certification, but it's stringent. It is a stringent process. Absolutely.
So we absolutely look for QCA with our suppliers. And sometimes it might be cost prohibitive or time prohibitive for some of the smaller suppliers that have really interesting products that our customers are looking for.
Right.
And in that instance, then we do our own. We, code of conduct. We survey them.
Yeah.
We find out who they're selling to. We look into their manufacturing practices. We, do that sort of level on our own to make sure that they comply. And we also will work with our clients and say, these guys are sort of way up here at the premium standard in terms of what they're doing in the industry, and we're able to vet that, and we're very transparent. We'll show them all the work that we're doing behind the scenes if they want that reassurance. We've actually also worked with clients where, say it's a conference, for example, they'll do a one-pager in the delegate binder that talks about all their swag for the conference, how it was sourced, why it was sourced the way it was, and it sort of tells the story behind their swag.
Right.
And we've done that for the Governor Generals, we've done that for other conferences, and we work very closely with our customers so that they can communicate that message.
And that message is very important for your clients. I mean, especially when you're dealing with government agencies, especially when you're dealing with universities, especially when you're dealing with large corporations, because they want to be seen as being corporate citizens of the world. And the fact that they can say, what, we see the supply chain of our promotional products. It's not just what we do on a day-to-day basis that we're actually, watching the supply chain to make sure that everything is doing. Even the stuff that we're giving away to our clients at either relationship builders or at conferences or whatever, those pieces themselves, we're paying attention to this and we're putting this out there, and that solidifies their brand. It keeps it from being holes in the brand. People don't understand that when you say one thing and do another, it hurts your brand. But if you can say, we are an ethical company that believes in X, and if your entire business model, doesn't matter where you touch the customer, whether it be external customers or internal customers, lives up to that brand and that brand ideology, then you are actually seen at a higher level. And you're helping with that, which is great.
100%. And it's not even just their customers. Employees are taking note.
Absolutely.
Right? It's not enough to say that you think sustainability and ethical practices are important. You actually have to walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
And your staff are the first line to see whether or not you're authentic.
Absolutely.
And corporate culture is so important.
Yeah.
And so when you're able to demonstrate it and I think that was one of the things that we realized when we did our research, that there are phenomenal brands out there that are doing really, really good things. And they also have procurement procedures and policies in place that also, the folks that are buying the promotional branded materials within their organizations adhere to.
Right.
There's other organizations where they have a disconnect. So they have, at the corporate level, there's all kinds of things going on around sustainability because they know it's important. They know it's good for business, but also it's good for the planet. But the people that are actually branding merchandise are not doing it with that overall mission in mind, because it's somebody in marketing, or sometimes it's the receptionist or the administrative assistant that's buying the promotional products, right?
And they're not thinking about it.
They're not. They just automatically.
Is that they're not thinking about it, and that's where the disconnect happens.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. We've been working with the Governor General's Canadian Leadership Conference now for 7 years, and when we first approached them and asked to be part of the bid process, the sustainability was important, but at the end of the day, it was all around price. And we don't have to be more expensive when we're buying sustainable products. Right. But it was, they said at the end of the day, because it was an RFP process that we went through. Yeah. And we said, that's fine. We can adhere to any RFP or anything like that. And we will make sure that we only use suppliers that have been vetted for all of the criteria that I've mentioned earlier. But then we can actually take that a level further, and we can help you sort of put a story around the products that you are giving out to your delegates. Right. And we gave them options. So, the lapel pins, for example. Here is a lapel pin that's made in China. We've vetted the manufacturing process. We know that the supply chain security and the environmental impact and the social compliance is all there. Right. Here's the price for the pin made in China, and here's the price for the pin made in Canada. Yeah. And
if it's not that much more,
exactly.
Say we bought pins that were made in Canada, and for a Governor General to say we bought pins made in Canada is a big deal.
Exactly. And when you're actually presented with the options, you can see that actually there isn't that much impact on the budget, but there's a significant impact in what you're communicating with your brand.
Right.
So, it's also understanding what impact you're going to have, but then how do you communicate that?
Exactly.
So it was a very interesting, that was early days. That
sure.
Governor General conference was one of our first customers, and it was very early days. And they were like, "Wow, okay, this is an important story. We are Canada, we are the Governor General of Canada. Canadian-made pins, I think." And don't quote me, but I think the difference was probably about $400 to get Canadian-made versus offshore.
And and the PR that you're going to get out of that, the public relations that you can get out of saying we actually took the time to source our pins in Canada is hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of public relations. You can spin that story for days.
Yep.
And be able to have that as a positive news story versus it gets, sucked in and says, oh, well, the Governor General had their pins made in China, and then all of a sudden you're having to spin that one. So go ahead.
You're absolutely right. And that's where the customers, you don't want them blindsided. And that's why being proactive and working with ethical swag, we make sure that they don't get blindsided.
Right.
Right? Because you don't want them to all of a sudden somebody pick up and say, oh, well, that's not right. Or if there's a tragedy there has happened in, say, a plant in Bangladesh that has caved in and a bunch of workers.
Yeah, thousands of people got injured or died.
Exactly. So you don't want to be blindsided by these things. And there's a lot of corporations that understand that, and they're working with folks already. But then what we really found as well, which we thought was really interesting insight when we did our research, was the person that was in charge of the budget.
Yeah.
They wanted to spend with purpose. So
excellent.
So that was a really interesting piece of our research that was a bit of a surprise, honestly, as we sort of looked and said, okay, who's our customer and what is it that we're looking to accomplish here with the organization? It was an individual within an organization that may or may not have sustainability and ethical practices as their overall mission and values.
Right.
But that individual did. And they had a budget to do something, and they wanted to make sure that it was purchased with purpose.
Yeah.
And so it was really interesting insight.
And, and as those buyers get younger, that's going to become more and more prevalent.
Yeah.
It's only going to become more and more prevalent. It's going to be more and more the norm versus a nice to have. And the companies that understand that, the companies that are helping their customers tell a positive story, the companies that are allowing their customers to be seen in the best light are the companies that are going to thrive. And, and I love hearing that about you.
Yeah, it's really fun. Really, I love the people we work with. I love the work that we're doing, and we want to have a big impact. And that was one of the things that I found when I had Ethical Swag, and it wasn't my full-time focus.
Yeah.
The impact was minimal, and we want to have a larger impact. In so many different ways. And that's where that piece around equity really sums up who we are and what we're doing. It's equity with our employees. It's a culmination. I hit my 50s and said, okay, I want to have an impact. I want my company to have an impact. And I couldn't do that part-time. I had to do it full-time. And that's really sort of how this all came about in the last year.
Well, you've almost answered my last question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. My last question, as I get people to walk out the door, jump in their car, and drive away, what do you want your customers to think about you and Ethical Swag when you're not in the room?
Authentic. I think authenticity is the key ingredient to what we're doing. Because there is greenwashing. We had a media outlet contact us last week saying, a lot of people don't believe when they see the word ethical or green that it actually is in practice. So that's what we stand for. We've turned clients away. We've turned suppliers away because we couldn't vet their processes.
Right.
And if we can't vet it, we don't. We don't use them.
Sure.
And we've had customers that we explain to them't due diligence and everything else, and we say, but there's nothing wrong if you want that product. We're not judging. We're not trying to judge at all. It's just, this is who we are, and there's plenty of suppliers that will be able to take care of you for that product. And we're not saying it's a bad product, and we're not saying it's a bad supplier by any stretch of the imagination. It's just not what we do. And so we know what lane we swim in. And we stick with it, and it's a very rewarding experience. And there's so much more we want to do. This is just the start, and it's very exciting.
Well, I love your passion. I love the authenticity. I love the ability that you see your future, and you see how your future can help other people. And I think those are phenomenal things. Tara, thank you very much for being on the show. Hang out in the green room a second. I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody, and I'll be right back.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, thank you. I want to thank Tara for making the time to spend time with us today. You know, it's an interesting thought process. If you look at the industry that you're in and you look, how is everybody else doing it? How is everybody else communicating, and how is everybody else, going about their day-to-day business? And if they're all going right, if you go just a little bit to the left, you're going to be seen as different, and you're going to be seen as unique. And people are going to sit there and say, wait a second, what are they doing? Why are they doing it that way? And it really differentiates you. And that's what you want to do. That's how you want to create that interest. That's how you want to engage your customers. That's how you want to compel them to take a look at you in a different way. Now, every Wednesday at 10 o'clock in the morning, Pacific time, the YourLIVINGBrand.live show is here. Every week we interview another guest, and we give them the opportunity to tell us their story and find out what makes them different. Why do they do the things that they do to be able to communicate their value? And I know that my audience finds this valuable. But Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, Your Brand Marketing communicates for our customers. We tell your story. We help you engage your audience, and we help you be unique and different and not just a commodity. We'd love to work with you. Give us a call. We'd love to talk to you. Take care and see you next week.